1 Introduction. RAWSEP View. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove, and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. RAWSEP View. Purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.
Hi, my name is Lily. Andrew gave you the intro to residents against wood smoke emission particulates and their concern for air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Residents against wood smoke emission particulates, or RAWSEP, would like every near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke enters their yards and sickens the near neighbors to have a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of their home to measure the level of PM 2.5 entering their yards. That measurement of air pollution should be used as evidence of unnecessary air pollution, and each indoor residential wood burner should be shut down based on that evidence, one indoor residential wood burner at a time if necessary. The presentation by Andrew ended at 2 minutes 5 seconds. The same presentation by Emma starts at 2 minutes 3 seconds before the end of this podcast. So I am Lily, your timekeeper, and you can start the next podcast at 2 minutes 5 seconds in if you would not like to see the presentation by Andrew a second time. This presentation by me, Lily, ends at 5 minutes in. What you will see in the main content of this RAWSEP podcast will be news about air pollution from indoor residential wood burning and how that air pollution is being combated by ordinary people just like you who are unfortunately near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners at this time. There will also be news about unnecessary and highly polluting use of wood as fuel in industrial wood burners and preventable air pollution from wood burning wildfires. There will also be news about air pollution from PM 2.5 from gas-powered cars. There will also be news about airborne diseases which are also preventable with vaccines such as COVID-19 and measles and whooping cough, to name just a few. In 2025, residents against wood smoke emission particulates is also concerned with combating the Trump destruction of government funding for programs which protect human health through the Department of Health and Human Services, and Trump destruction of programs which fund the science and medical research plan to protect human health from preventable illnesses. Protecting human health is a patriotic act, and our defense against enemies is weakened if we are not as healthy as we can be. Heat pump rebates are now offered by the federal government, distributed through the eligible United States, are available in 2025, and are the best, cleanest, and now cheapest alternative to indoor residential wood burning if that burning is actually done to purportedly save money. Wind and solar as sources of the electricity that powers heat pumps and electric cars is also cheaper than burning wood. The adverse health effects that are caused by indoor residential wood burning also come at a cost to near neighbors, both in shortening and ending their lives, and in actual hospital, clinic, and funeral costs. Instead of being compensated monetarily, near neighbors should instead be able to achieve immediate relief by stopping indoor residential wood burning in their hyper-localized neighborhoods, which relief readings from purple air PM 2.5 monitors used as evidence of air pollution will help them achieve. Welcome to news about hopeful scientific and medical achievements that will also help us achieve the goal of clean air to breathe.
Episode 57DHXWW, August 31st, 2025. Alaska should turn to clean energy as it runs out of natural gas. In episode 57DHXWW1, Alaska Anchorage Alaska should turn to clean energy as it runs out of natural gas. 2 Australia, this writer believe that a fair go in Australia is not true. Headlines main content. 3 JD Vance Everyone has got a theory on the Taylor Swift engagement, even JD Vance. 4 headlines main content. 1 Alaska Anchorage Alaska should turn to clean energy as it runs out of natural gas. RAWSEP View asks, are clean alternatives to natural gas for home heating in Alaska explored in the following article? These alternatives would logically be wind and solar energy, and in residences heat pumps that now work down to 40 degrees below zero function as air conditioners and lower monthly electric bill immediately. Federal heat pump rebates, based on a sliding income scale, are now available until the end of 2025. Having clean energy will also slow air pollution in Anchorage, Alaska, as well as replace the dwindling fossil fuel natural gas. Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Anchorage is an isolated city of fewer than 300,000 defined by the water and mountains that surround it. Many solutions that might make sense in bigger, more connected places are not feasible here. It has not helped that there is no single plan to address the Alaska impending shortfall. RAWSEP View, what alternatives to natural gas exist or could exist in Anchorage, Alaska? Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. At its core, though, the predicament in Alaska is a reminder of the economic risks inherent to building energy systems around fossil fuels, as the Trump administration is urging the United States and its trading partners to continue doing. Local supplies can run low, and when they do, energy costs often rise. All of these resources, oil and gas, coal, are finite. The utilities face a trade-off. They can sign shorter, likely more expensive contracts that let them shift to alternatives like renewable energy. RAWSEP interjection. Renewable energy should refer to clean renewable energy, such as wind and solar power. The short answer to the question posed in this article is that even in cold Alaska, offshore wind power and onshore solar power could exist if there was the political will to pursue clean energy. Wind and solar power to heat Anchorage, Alaska homes and run industries. That is not explored in detail in this article. That is probably not explored by politicians in Anchorage, Alaska, for right-wing political reasons to continue to support the fossil fuel industry, as exemplified from the Trump White House down to local Alaska government. RAWSEP View This is the conclusion of the article. Whichever way Anchorage goes, energy prices will almost certainly rise, at least for a while. Alaska waited too long to confront a known risk of natural gas running out. Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization in energy-rich state that has self-imposed an energy crisis, said the Matanuska Electrical Association ME executive. We did not need to be here. Answered a question that RAWSEP asked. AI Overview Matanuska most commonly refers to the Matanuska Glacier, a large road-accessible glacier in Alaska, and the Matanuska River, a waterway fed by the glacier. It is also part of the name for the Matanuska Susitna Valley. Mat-Su, a significant region in south-central Alaska. The name itself is derived from a Russian term used for the Ahtna Athabaskan people of the Copper River region. From the article headline, Fossil Fuels, Alaska produces a ton of gas. Soon its biggest city might not have enough. The New York Times, August 31st, 2025. Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. For almost as long as it has been a state, Alaska has been powered by the natural gas buried beneath Cook Inlet and estuary on its southern coast. The gas used to be so plentiful that Alaska not only used it to heat homes and make electricity, it shipped tankers of the fuel overseas. Now most of the drilling companies have gone, and the Cook Inlet gas is dwindling. RAWSEP requests article analysis from artificial intelligence. Officials expect that in the next several years they may not have enough of the fuel to keep all the lights on in Anchorage, the biggest city in Alaska. Any shortfall would most likely come in the dead of winter when temperatures routinely fall below zero. 2 Australia. RAWSEP View This writer believe that a fair go in Australia is not true. This writer believes that tax, education and healthcare is not currently a fair go in Australia. What political party in Australia attempts to fix taxes, education, and healthcare to the satisfaction of this writer? From the article headline, the Australian concept of a fair go is a furphy, a lie, especially when it comes to tax, education, and care. Julianne Schultz, The Guardian. RAWSEP lookup of the term furphy on artificial intelligence. A furphy is Australian slang for an erroneous or improbable story, rumor, or false report, often spread as if it were true. The term originated during World War I when soldiers would gather around furphy water and sanitation carts manufactured by a company of that name. In exchange stories and rumors, the name of the cart furphy became associated with these unreliable accounts. Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. For years, policymakers and politicians thought they could square the circle, a market-driven economy with a robust social safety net, but that has become harder. The clear analysis of the failings of the tax system presented by the CEO of the Grattan Institute, Ahtna Athabaskan, at the roundtable did not deserve to be dismissed by the Prime Minister as academic talk. This is a challenge that must not be allowed to be considered too hard. It will only get harder. RAWSEP lookup of the current Australian Prime Minister on artificial intelligence. As of August 2025, the Prime Minister of Australia is Anthony Albanese. He has held the position since May 23, 2022, and is the leader of the Labour Party. Key details about the Albanese time as Prime Minister include re-election in May 2025 as Labour Party was re-elected for a second term. Government priorities: his administration has focused on addressing the cost of living crisis, manufacturing policy, and increasing housing supply. Notable initiatives: he established the National Anti-Corruption Commission and oversaw a second budget surplus in 2024. 3 JD Vance Everyone has got a theory on the Taylor Swift engagement. Even JD Vance Everyone. The Guardian. RAWSEP View Vance links the Swift-Kelsey engagement with political corruption without any evidence. This is apparently a Vance political conspiracy theory floated because Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce made the personal decision to become engaged. Excerpt edited by RAWSEP Residents Against Wood Smoke. Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. While Vance Himself has not weighed in on whether he thinks the Kelsey effect will mean Swift suddenly has a Mar-a-Lago makeover and starts fangirling over mega politics. He has aired his thoughts on the news. More specifically, he used the Swift and Kelsey engagement to float the conspiracy theory that NFL games could be rigged for the Kelsey team, the Chiefs. I hope that the NFL does not put a thumb on the scale for the Kansas City Chiefs just because Travis Kelsey is now getting married to maybe the most famous woman in the world. Vance told USA Today in an interview on Wednesday, it is not just the right wing projecting their hopes, dreams, and weird Super Bowl fantasies onto Kelsey Swift. Headlines: The New York Times, August 31st, 2025. Air pollution. RAWSEP View Science and air pollution. Factually, CO2 has positive and negative effects and uses, although increasing CO2 in the atmosphere contributes to global warming and climate change, as well as functioning as an air pollutant. Readers of this book can educate themselves about basic scientific facts from the article. Headline: Book Review. The story of CO2 is the story of everything, by Peter Brandon. New York Times. Air pollution and fossil fuels. RAWSEP View. Fossil fuel industry wants to maintain monopoly without competition from clean energy, which is also the view of MAGA from Trump on down. From the article. Headline: The Chevron boss says the world will need oil for a long time. The New York Times. Air pollution from fossil fuels. So your workout clothes are made of plastic now. What reviews by Wirecutter. Air pollution from wood burning. RAWSEP View. Hopefully this article mentions the air pollution from wood burning wildfires as a reason to fight wildfires. Hopefully this article will ask residents to make the easy and necessary sacrifice of stopping indoor residential wood burning. Will the clean alternative of heat pumps that work down to 40 degrees below zero and also work as air conditioners and also be eligible for heat pump rebates federally to the end of 2025? From the article. Headline: Opinion, a new way to think about fighting wildfires. The New York Times. Artificial intelligence. RAWSEP View. Humans who are against artificial intelligence sometimes call themselves by the term clanker. From the article. Headline: How the term clanker became an anti-AI rallying cry. The New York Times. RAWSEP asked the meaning of the term clanker from AI Overview. The term clanker is a recently popularized slur used to describe robots and AI emerging in 2025 as a way to express anxieties about the increasing presence of AI and impact on jobs and society. While it can be used lightheartedly, it functions as a derogatory label for automated systems, reflecting a growing skepticism and frustration with the rapid advancement of AI and automation. RAWSEP Key excerpt from the article. Something we're all noticing is that AI is getting weirdly human. It is making people uncomfortable. Artificial intelligence. RAWSEP View. A Silicon Valley business failure. From the article. Headline: How builder AI collapsed amid the Silicon Valley biggest boom. The New York Times. California. Marin County Media. Marin. Lately, a new satire publication skewers Marin County. The New York Times. RAWSEP View. A recent article title on June 11th, 2025, is Northern Spotted Owl misgendered. Consumers 8 products that can bring comfort to life. The New York Times. Consumers. RAWSEP View. Do-it-yourself house building. From the article. Headline: How to build a house from 4 people who did it. The New York Times. Consumers. The 5 best bone conduction and open-ear headphones of 2025 reviews by Wirecutter. Consumers. The 25 best mattresses of 2025 reviews by Wirecutter. Consumers. RAWSEP View. Affordability. Theme parks. From the article. Headline: Opinion. Disney World is the happiest place on earth if you can afford it. The New York Times. Consumers. RAWSEP View. Would it not be more persuasive to describe a sofa as a big, beautiful sofa? From the article. Headline: Opinion. Happiness is a big, ugly sofa. The New York Times. Consumers of ideas. RAWSEP View. Is uninterrupted control of beneficial reading material easier offline? From the article. Headline: How to read for fun again. The New York Times. Consumers of ideas. Spy novels, a starter pack. The New York Times. Dance. RAWSEP View. The monetization of everything. Fair use. Copyright of dance moves computer games versus human dance invention. From the article. Headline: Fortnite makes money from popular dances. Do their choreographers. The New York Times. Democrats redistricting push creates chaos for incumbents in both parties. The New York Times. Democrats redistricting. If redistricting goes as expected, which party will come out ahead? The New York Times. Media. From book to movie, the most anticipated book adaptations of 2025 movies and TV shows. The New York Times. Media. Politics or lack of politics. The new dream guy is beefy, placid, and politically ambiguous. The New York Times. Medicine and science. 5 things school nurses say parents are doing wrong. The New York Times. Minnesota gun violence, a future filled with hope. Minneapolis community unites to process the tragedy. The New York Times. Minnesota gun violence before Minnesota shooting. A program aimed at preventing attacks lost federal funding. The New York Times. Minnesota gun violence, what motivated the Minneapolis church shooter? We may never know. The New York Times. Music. RAWSEP View. Jeff Buckley, who died at age 30 in a drowning accident in 1997, was a singer who in 1994 performed Hallelujah, written by Leonard Cohen. From the article. Headline: Buckley documentary and new young fans keep the legacy and music of the singer alive. The New York Times. New York City. RAWSEP View. Consumers strict standards for healthy restaurant food, including fast food, determined locally rather than through the Federal Food and Drug Administration (FDA) under RFK Jr. From the article. Headline: New York City. NYC food standards could spell doom for chicken nuggets. The New York Times. New York City. RAWSEP View. Mayoral race. Is Zohran Mamdani primarily a Democrat who can appeal to voters across the political spectrum in a general NYC mayoral election in November, or is Mamdani primarily a Democratic socialist? Do Democratic socialist ideas help the poor and middle class and possibly harm the rich? From the article. Headline: What to know about Zohran Mamdani and Democratic socialism. The New York Times. New York City. RAWSEP View. Mayoral race. Democrat Mamdani has a Democratic socialist background, which does not particularly favor the rich. From the article. Headline: The New York very rich reel over the NYC mayoral race, and the Mamdani lead. The New York Times. Science. RAWSEP View. History of attacks on science compared to Trump attacks on science. From the article. Headline: Historians see autocratic playbook in the Trump attacks on science. The New York Times. Trump budget cuts to fund tax breaks for the rich in the Trump federal workforce cuts. Black women are among the hardest hit. The New York Times. Trump versus the Fed, how Trump could overhaul the Fed. The New York Times. Mexico president struggles to escape the Trump growing demands. The New York Times. France. Paris, a city reinvented Paris, is now Greater Paris. The New York Times. Austria and Austria government healthcare can look a bit like a spa. The New York Times. Ukraine-Russian strikes on Western assets in Ukraine send an ominous message, the New York Times. Syria, in Syria, a city shattered by war, asks for its sacrifice to be repaid, the New York Times. India, Trump lack of diplomacy opinion, Trump has obliterated the American 30-year courtship of India, the New York Times. China consumers, America closed malls, but China kept building them, now it has too many, the New York Times. Indonesia leader says he will bow to some protester demands after riots, the New York Times. Thailand behind Thai premier dismissal, unraveling of an uneasy alliance, the New York Times. Headline August 31st, 2025, The Guardian. Human interest, RAWSEP View popularity or unpopularity of male archetypes, which are not macho archetypes, or not right-wing archetypes, or not MAGA archetypes. From the article headline, Why Fear the Tote Bag Wielding Matcha Drinking Performative Male, At least the performative male makes an effort. Rachel Connolly, The Guardian. Medicine, climate change, it happens so fast, the shocking reality of indoor heat deaths in Arizona, The Guardian. Human interest, is it okay to be happy when the world is falling apart, Avram Alpert, The Guardian. RFK Jr. RAWSEP View. As usual, the RFK Jr. explanation of his actions makes no sense and is not based on rational ideas of science and medicine, and is an attempted distraction to avoid discussing his canceling of vaccine access to the majority of Americans recently. From the article headline, RFK Jr. says he will fix a vaccine program by canceling compensation for people with vaccine injuries. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. The Guardian. Australia, RAWSEP View preventive healthcare by exercising. From the article headline, The Sydney Marathon will be my first attempt at running 42 kilometers. My body can do way more than I ever imagined. Issy Phillips, The Guardian. United Kingdom, Britain-Russian war against Ukraine. Russian missiles will not stop our support for Ukraine. The vital work of the British Council goes on. Scott MacDonald, The Guardian. United Kingdom, RAWSEP View media. Right-wing local criticism and boycott of media. From the article headline, The Guardian view on Reform UK versus the Nottingham Post. A boycott by a council of its local paper is both petty and alarming. Editorial, The Guardian. United Kingdom. RAWSEP View media. Right-wing local criticism and boycott of media. From the article headline, The Trump anti-press tactics are bad enough in the US, now reform is importing them to the Midlands. John Alsop, The Guardian. Germany, Berlin, consumers' affordability, the march of commercialization, the writing is on the wall for nightclubs in Berlin, Germany. The Guardian.